Hi everybody, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, and today we'll be talking about delivering innovation in the age of multi-cloud. In this session, I'm joined by Curtis Peterson, Senior Vice President of Global Operations at RingCentral. Welcome, Curtis.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Oh, great to see you again. And today I'm really interested to dive into the age of multi-cloud. It sounds like a really interesting topic. So, but before we get started, how about we start with a quick intro? Who are you and what you do for RingCentral, please?
Absolutely, yes. Curtis Peterson here, and I'm Senior Vice President of Global Operations for RingCentral. And what that entails, on a daily process is making sure that RingCentral is built for the future, that we have all the cloud infrastructure we need to scale and grow with our business, and to be able to provide the security for that footprint. And our business is really driven as a full UCaaS, CCaaS suite. We drive employee experience all the way to customer experience for the best tools in all of those spaces put into one UCaaS tool.
Great stuff. And as a leader in UC and contact center technology, it must be an amazing time for RingCentral right now. We're in the middle of the pandemic. We don't know when it's going to end, but certainly adoption has grown massively over the past just number of weeks, really. But I'm interested to kind of just dive into the first kind of discussion point today, which was more around kind of whether you feel innovation is actually starting to slow or is it actually increasing? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's a real interesting time, certainly unfortunate and tragic in all of those regards. But I think, from my industry standpoint, this was a true test. Do we hold up under these conditions where we've been saying forever? People are working from home more and more. They can work from home or work remotely more and more, and companies should look at that as an initiative. We could deliver value across the entire company communication spread. We can talk to customers. We can talk to employees. We can help employees collaborate, customers and employees collaborate. And I think, well into it at this point, what we've learned is the cloud is there. It is held up under these, truly trying times on that. And it's a terrible way to run the test. But I think at this point, we have to say that these companies are kind of companies providing these communication services. We are passing that test right now.
Great stuff. In terms of the priorities for CIOs, IT managers, directors, IT leaders, what are their priorities right now?
Yeah, so CIO priorities right now are probably just trying to see how much of the door they can keep open. So we're looking at CIO priorities kind of in a larger umbrella of pre and post pandemic kind of activities. And what we find out there, especially in the larger enterprises, is they're not quite done moving to the cloud. So they still have legacy systems inside their properties. They still have some hosted solutions that they moved out of their data centers in order to close a data center or to continue their operations in such a way that they could have a little more resiliency, but they're not really truly all the way in the cloud yet. And my experience with CIOs is they're really ready to finish that move. And interestingly enough, comms or UC and CC tend to be kind of more at the tail end of that conversation. If you go back in time in the cloud world, it's almost a Salesforce driven type conversation where something easy that belonged to a single department, that if it was down for an hour or two might be painful. No business allows things to be down for an hour or two, but a tool to look up contacts might be one of them. And people move to the cloud then. Now we're moving things to the cloud that can never fail, never go down, that are key pieces to the company. If you think about it, a company with no comms really can't operate hardly at all. So it's got to be fully reliable and things like that. So we've moved from, kind of some of the more easy things to the super hard things. And I think what we see left now is we see CIOs struggling with those last few apps that were maybe written 20 years ago, and they keep not quite getting enough budget to move them in to the cloud. Those are the ones left to move or replace beyond comms. And they're the ones that I believe I see CIOs really actually struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe kind of CC or contact center technology is kind of slightly behind UC technology in terms of adoption, isn't it? So we've got a lot of organizations out there right now that are likely to be, on premise essentially for their contact center.
Yeah, certainly when you move up in the seat count, a call center maybe is 100, 150 contact center agents sitting in it, more than likely is either looked at cloud or is ready to move to the cloud. But when you start moving to these mega call centers that are 3, 4, 5,000 plus agents, they still haven't made the migration yet. And a lot of that just has to do with how many legacy connections that they put into that platform that they have to replace as they move those platforms to the cloud and as they contemplate moving the CC to the cloud.
Absolutely. It appears like almost anything's possible in the cloud. We can connect to anything. That's where the innovation is. That's, just where all the excitement is right now. What next for cloud communications, Curtis, from your perspective?
I think it's elevating the state of the art of the cloud. So I think, it wasn't that long ago. I think I saw this survey 7 or 8 years ago that almost 65% of the world thought cloud computing actually meant cloud servers floating somewhere up in the sky in the clouds that were operating in the internet. We're past that now, right? Most people understand what cloud computing are. They have iCloud on their phone, or they have Samsung Cloud for their Android, or things along these lines. For CIOs, though, it's just not good enough to throw technology at every issue. That was what CIOs did 30 years ago, and they were heroes every time they did. CIOs today have to provide a couple of additional things. The 3 things I think of is they have to provide some top line improvement to the business. So very customer facing role in the CIO role these days, more so than it used to be in the past. The second one is they have to provide bottom line improvement as well. So in the state of the art of cloud, they really have to be efficient in how they run their cloud. And I'll come back to that in just a second. And the third one is CIOs are now on the hook for how employees perceive their company. Employees that find companies difficult to work with. Let's say, for example, a company that has a extremely restrictive BYOD device that doesn't let you work from anywhere but the desk that you're there, has a kludgy login process for every single app that you have. You have to keep a little cheat sheet just to keep track of it, that are running apps that go down or aren't available all the time, have large maintenance windows, or are many, many releases behind the current position the company should be operating in. Those employees are significantly less happy with their jobs than the employees sitting in these, what we like to say, cloud-powered environments. And really it's becoming a little bit less about the cloud because it's pretty much proven at this point, and more about what are these rapid innovation applications that don't go down, that run all the time. Kind of circling back to that point I said I'd drive a little deeper in on, the cost of running all that now becomes a burden on the CIO. And if they're really going to tackle these issues, they're going to have to think a little bit more multi-cloud. You can't just throw everything in one cloud or one private instance of a cloud and expect good operating costs on there. Having said that, there's great public cloud options out there, but picking one over the other can create cloud lock, which can put you in a long-term position of owing a lot of money for certain resources, or having your developers become dependent on some of the services that they sell and not really truly free-forming developers out there. So we believe the correct state of this art is a true multi-cloud state. The CIO can pick and run his loads of his software, whatever they are, in any cloud that they want to at any time.
Interesting. So does that ultimately help the business become more innovative? Does it help agility as well?
Absolutely. It's absolutely a major influx on agility and cost of operation. In the single cloud instance, we've already seen customers become more agile, right? You take something like CC and UC and you hand that to a vendor. There's no reason to develop that yourself. There's companies like RingCentral that do all of that already at a high innovation pace. It's pretty much a common tool set across many companies on there. Make sure they have open platforms, open access to your data, and you're off and running. Okay, Salesforce meets that model as well. There's others that fit in that category. There are things that are core to your business. They pay your bills, or you might be in the software business. So there's pieces of your software you need to host out there too, and having that control becomes another piece of that picture of being cloud enabled and agile. But the final piece of it, I think, is having your limited resources as a CIO exclusively fixated on those things we talked about a minute ago. Are they improving the top line? Are they improving the bottom line? And doing that, you really have to get out of the day-to-day operation of a private cloud, or really looking at all of these instances out there. You have to be free to move around. You have to have the agility to fire up a new piece of code anywhere that you need to, anywhere in the world, for any regulatory reason or even performance reasons around there. You want to be able to do this, very quickly. And I think that's what the age of true multi-cloud really comes down to.
That's really interesting, and some great points there as well. And ultimately, that is the holy grail, isn't it, for a lot of large organizations to be agile in today's world. So what next for the industry? What next for cloud communications? I mean, CC and UC, platforms out there. We're hearing more about those coming together. What's your view?
Yeah, so I think, in the future of the cloud communications, I find a couple of things you just can't pull apart anymore. The whole concept of employee satisfaction or employee experience and customer experience. We used to think of those as a wall divided area in there. We had groups that were customer focusing. They had their own tool set, their own line of business decision maker for that tool set. They operated somewhat in a silo. They usually had a list of projects for the CIO. Here's all the things I wish my systems talked to. Here's all the things I wish my systems could do. And a CIO would take that list, and they would take the top 10 or 15 projects, get them funded, and they would plug them into a system and just pull a little bit of data across over that customer experience world. Our view of that is that wall is just falling down, and if you're spending time working out integrations, you're probably not as agile as forward thinking as you need to be. These systems are inextricably connected at this point. How your employees, even the ones that aren't customer facing, work, and how your customer facing employees work needs to be in a unified environment. They need to be able to discuss with each other. We have a client in the US that's an engineering services company, and they used to keep, of course, the standard model. Now, all the engineers, hidden over here. Don't let them talk to customers. They're prickly engineers that went to school and that wasn't their face. And then over here, you have the account management or site managers. They're very customer friendly. They know how to manage troubles and issues as they come up. They're experienced in dealing with the wild environment of the real world, right? So the engineers are over here fully isolated. That was yesterday's model. This company I'm mentioning now, they really pull these teams together, and they've got these teams out in the field, these field managers, and they can go right into a collaboration team in video and voice, or even in response to a call coming into a customer service center. They can post questions or demand answers from their engineering team at large. And with over 100 engineers in there, they're getting responses in under a minute. So it's not very exciting responses. It's how tight should I make this bolt that holds up this tower? It's very important if you live under the tower how tight that bolt is, but probably not very much important to a lot of other people. But they can get that answer immediately. Go back to the field, make that adjustment in the field, make their customer happy on that front, and no longer is that wall sitting there between those two sides.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it, how far we've come and where we're potentially going with this. And it's by simplifying, as you say, and making or taking a kind of multi-cloud kind of mindset to their application strategies. It's very, very interesting, and
yeah,
it's very exciting for the industry as well. Curtis, it's been great talking to you today. Some great insights again for the audience to take away. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and look forward to what RingCentral is going to bring to the market in terms of relief for CIOs, and obviously what we've been talking about in here, the customer experience and the employee experience being key issues driving our product mentality right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to everyone for watching. And if you've enjoyed today's session, please do give us a quick like or a share. But we'll see you again soon. Thank you.